Hi, my name is Milo Fields. I'm a grade 12 student. Before I start, I just want to say, I know tonight it requires a lot of attention, and as the last art talker, I want to thank you all for staying till the end. All right. Every time I go to eat at a restaurant with a mirror, I sit in front of it. I sneak a peek at myself between bites, and lock eyes with myself at every pause in the conversation. I wouldn't say I'm self-obsessed, but maybe more so fascinated by who I am. And maybe I have a big ego, or just a really, really gorgeous face. But I also think that we as humans generally tend to center ourselves in the world. The world we live in is built around the idea that human interests are ultimately superior, that we are the chosen animal. And we've taken this so far that we no longer see ourselves as animals. The word to describe our world is anthropocentric. Our reflections are so shiny that we forget that life on this planet existed for 3,740,000,000 years before mammals first appeared. We see the impact of our anthropocentric world everywhere. Our language, for one, says a lot about how we view ourselves. I'll use English, but this is true of many Western languages. A person has an individual identity. We are he's, she's, theys. An animal is more like a pot or a table than a person. When a dog walks down the street, it is an it, unless we assign it a gender. Then it may become a he or a she. When a human is referred to as an it, it's usually under the guise of dehumanization, an attempt to liken them to an animal in order to justify immoral actions against them. Other languages address humans in a more dignified way. Stuart King suggests the Anishinaabe word for beings of the living earth, Bemadiziaki, as a pathway of solving this language problem. The last sound, he, is beginning to be used within certain circles as a new pronoun for non-humans. So sure, I don't speak as if my ancestors were once monkeys. But who cares? I say things I don't mean all the time. We all do. What must be understood is that this language enforces a harmful divide between us and other life on this planet. Our language isolates us. Before this, I talked a bit about fascination with oneself. I think that's what's happening with our language. We don't really understand why we are the way we are, why we feel the ways that we do. So as a collective, we sit in front of a mirror and dissect ourselves. Our language can't look away from the most central problem. It isn't just our language that does this, and languages across the world vary in their depiction of humans in relation to other life. But English most certainly does. And most Western architecture divides its inhabitants from nature. Hell, even our legal system prioritizes human interests. We have built an identity around this divide. But I ask, what good does it do? How many people are completely unhappy with the world they live in? And what justification do we have to see ourselves as above it all? Too good to dirty ourselves with the world that created us. What we've done is enforced a hierarchy of achievement. We are a successful species because we are at the top of the food chain. We can cure sicknesses, we can develop language, we can create machines, we can spread our roots to the farthest corners of the world. We must ask ourselves, who decided that these traits indicate success? And are there no other factors? What about species with fantastic social lives? Or ecosystems that work together to preserve and maintain their environment? What about animals who have evolved to live the most leisurely lives possible? Is it possible that we can prioritize human interests because popular culture enforces a perception of humans as being above all other life? Obviously, prioritizing human interests has done a lot of harm to the environment, but ironically, it's also harmed humanity too. A study done by Daniel Cox and his peers showed a reduction in depressive symptoms of up to 11% from residents of urban areas once having moved to neighborhoods with vegetation. And a reduction in stress cases by up to 17%, and a reduction in anxiety cases by up to 25%. don't draw a definite connection between good mental health and exposure to nature, I find it hard to believe that that connection is not present. The feeling I get when I let go of my human superiority and let myself melt into the natural world can't be described as anything other than comfort. Not the warm bed kind of comfort, more like pushing a pull door, feeling embarrassed about it, and then seeing someone else do the same thing. I like to think a lot about mountain ranges. I think I might be a bit like one. The Killarney mountain range used to be as tall as the Rockies. Now its highest peak sits at an elevation of 543 meters. To put that into perspective, it doesn't take more than 2 hours to get to the top. I used to be a girl, now I'm a boy, but I will always be me. Killarney used to be a mountain, now it's more of a large hill, but it will always be Killarney. It's alright if I change kind of slow. I love the fact that the tree in my backyard covers our lawn in a blanket of shade. But it took it about 100 years to do that. When I'm lonely, I think about the few trees that somehow make their way past the tree line. I think about what it might be like to be doubled over by the wind, away from everything that would usually work together to shield me. I no longer feel so alone. I haven't said anything about art yet, but you see my pieces as I've talked. I think that the purpose of art is to communicate things that can't really be told through words. I want to tell you about this feeling of fullness I'm discovering, but I don't think that you'll understand. So I'll show you instead. I'll finesse the art of communicating a feeling. I'll create artworks that bridge the gap we've worked so hard to enforce. I'll try again and again to capture the beauty of the world, till it shines so bright that we can no longer stare endlessly at ourselves. Thank you.